Life Audio.
Hey, welcome to God's Love for the Unlovable and Gospel Rant series, our new format, Vagabond Diaries. Today I want to share something special and I hope very valuable to you and your Christian walk and your family, your church. Did you know that ever since the fall, humanity, all sexes, races, any socioeconomic category you want to pick, whether you've had an easy life or hard, each of us is born with a deep, relentless drive for one thing. It's how we're made. It's how God wired us. And you'll see why in a moment. And unless and until that is satisfied every day, we're just going to subconsciously keep looking for it and feel dissatisfied, feel emptied somehow, and more than likely try to get the itch scratched by other counterfeits, right? Like addiction, relationships, jobs, careers, whatever, right? Curious? If this proves, by the way, if this talk proves helpful to you, I want to ask you to consider passing it on to another Christian. I'm passionate about this, and if I'm right, this is very important information for them, for you, for all of us, and our churches as well. And by the way, also, this is a personal request. If this was valuable, please consider liking and subscribing to this program, because it really does help us get the material to more people. So thanks ahead of time. So this rant is an excerpt from my hot-off-the-press Tween fantasy book. It's coming out on June 2nd. It's called The Tale of the Orphan Magician. It's the longest and maybe the most gutsy book in the entire Kingdom Quest series so far. The Kingdom Quest philosophy is inspired by C.S. Lewis and his extremely popular and life-changing series, Chronicles of Narnia. Look, you know the books. Even though Christianity, Jesus, the cross, salvation are never mentioned directly in Chronicles, they're there in the background, behind the walls, being imprinted on the young reader's brain. That's kind of the idea. I suspect it has led or encouraged many young readers to get saved. I am attempting to accomplish the same thing for this generation. So the books, the Kingdom Quest series, deals with real human issues that tweens experience today. And by the way, adults too. And in each case, the path for hope, for redemption, for rescue is offered in the tale, in the paragraphs of the tale. So the tale of the unlikely prince was about daddy issues and how you recover from failure and shame and huge mess-ups. The storyteller's tale, the second, is about forgiveness and healing from actual abuse. The garden tale is about addiction, and particularly social media addiction. But listen, these are not just heavy tomes, kind of scientific, high school class books. They're children's quest stories with very interesting, quirky characters, a lot of humor, great quests, mysterious king who is more than he appears. So the fourth book in this series, The Tale of the Orphan Magician, is about this one drive that all of us have and where we can finally find satisfaction. So I'm going to read you an excerpt. It's a section of the talk, the storytelling by our storyteller for this tale, Ragorna, who is an ancient Sakhalin dragon, who is a keeper of all reliable history. You'll have to read the book to see what that means. He believes, he agrees with me, that this singular drive is the main thing behind all history. And it's interesting, right? Because he's writing about World War III in the continent of Amaratsim. And we're going to hear from him in a moment, right? Welcome to Gospel Rant and Vagabond Diaries. We'll get to Ragorna's thoughts after this word from our sponsors. Here we go. Ragorna, the Sakhalin dragon, and an excerpt from The Tale of the Orphan Magician. Ragorna continued graciously as a great scholar might. At the heart of every powerful, lasting tale, and at the center of all reliable history, is a single obsessive, though often subconscious, quest. I'm speaking of the single driving theme of every reliable tale ever told. One of our esteemed Sakhalin elders rightly referred to it as a search for father. This is not just a search for a male progenitor or yours or my paterfamilias, but something weightier and more elusive at times, Many of us have suffered from poor or absent fathers. I do not mean to say that we long for an individual. No, we long for the experience of father. The tale of the Orphan Magician is such a tale, and it illustrates that phenomenon quite well. Though we are very different in so many ways, humans, elves, trolls, dwarfs, each of us at our core longs for father, and it will never be satisfied until we arrive at that father embrace. Well, the audience was mesmerized. The storyteller struck a chord. Primarily, I suppose myself to be a historian, less a storyteller, but the great king has graciously requested that I take the reins, so to speak, to tell this tale. I will attempt to do my best. Though I am humbled and frankly intimidated to be on this historic grand stage, I understand I am sitting near where one of the greatest storytellers of all time, Berenice, first shared the tale of the unlikely prince to an audience much like the one here tonight. It remains a favorite in my country. I laughed when she shared about the dragon baseball leagues in your country, the 10-team sport arenas, playoffs, shoe contracts. What would dragons be doing with shoes anyway? It's hilarious stuff. As a young dragon, I was known to be a pretty good pitcher. I even dreamed of playing for the Red Scales, but alas, baseball is far more suited for my trimmer and faster dragon cousins here in Garden City. We Sakalan dragons are far more qualified for spiritual and scholarly pursuits. The great king established the Sakalan dragons to protect the reliable history, ensuring that the stories of our past are not lost to time. But believe me, we have picked up a few tips here and there from your great storytellers. At the young age of 300, I was sent to the northern mountain kingdom of Drukal to be mentored by the aged Sakalan dragon Erithron. It has been an experience beyond my wildest dreams. I am not bragging, not much, he grinned. It was a great honor, and I was the youngest apprentice for the Sakalan dragons ever at that time. The dragon paused, moving his massive head and bright yellow eyes to take in the entire audience. He engaged the eyes of each human, dwarf, elf, eagle, and even the other small dragons who were able to enter the vast double doors of the auditorium, all who had gathered for this extraordinary event. You may notice, Ragorna continued, I will not use any notes or books bound in a carved leather binding. Dragon memories are remarkable. As I said, reliable history maintains that all creatures subconsciously long for one thing. It's common to all our species and races. It's as true for humans as it is for dragons, elves, eagles, dwarves, and yes, even trolls. If we don't experience it regularly, we will end up fighting or drinking heavily. Since the Great Rebellion, each of us, individuals, tribes, and countries, are emotionally and relationally orphans, longing for father. All creatures, male, female, or asexual, long to experience that worthiness in the eyes of other. He used air quotes with his talons. In a word, enoughness. Am I beautiful enough, handsome, attractive, desirable enough, worthy of honor and attention of those who are important to me? Simply, am I lovable enough? Just hearing some kind person saying it is not sufficient. We need to experience enoughness regularly, or we will begin to forcefully take it from each other. Storyteller's note, enoughness is related to a creature's present experience of significant security and belonging. It turns out that this need for enough-ness cannot be satisfied by the usual suspects: career, relationships, family, sexuality, sex, sports, hunting, hobbies, questing, first-person video games, skateboarding, taking up good causes, fitness, diet, travel, music, or any other form of pure busyness. A few years ago, your great royal counselor emeritus Numai gave a vital lecture at the International Conference of Sakalan Dragons. Storyteller's note, Numai has been the king's royal counselor for as long as anyone can remember. Presently, she is an elder statesman for the king's message for creatures of all kind, truly an evangel of good news. She now needs the help of a modest wooden cane. her shoulders bent over only slightly, but her 80-plus years have etched so much wisdom and grace into that iconic features of this ageless black woman, carving deep laugh lines at the sides of her striking azure blue eyes. As a younger woman, she often accompanied men and women on their king-ordained quest. If you are familiar with the legendary Tale of the Unlikely Prince, it was Nu-Mai who served as the eyes and voice of the king. At this elevated age, Nu-Mai still moves with deliberate grace. Her presence still commands respect, and her face still offers kindness freely like a cup of her favorite Taylor's of Harrogate's Yorkshire tea shared on a rainy afternoon. She is not just the king's royal counselor emeritus, but a living embodiment of the king's heart. She said, listen carefully and you'll hear the word enough everywhere, especially when it comes to the worries, anxiety, loneliness, exhaustion, and divisiveness that plague our lives to such tragic proportions. You'll hear about creatures, humans, dragons, trolls, and even elves scrambling to be powerful enough, wealthy enough, happy enough, smart enough, fly high enough, run or swim fast enough, be magical enough, influential enough, desired enough, and good enough. All of us, no matter what species, instinctively believe that were we to reach some benchmark in our minds, then we would finally be worthy enough, respected enough, appreciated enough, valued enough, and lovable enough. If we only did fill in the blank enough, we would be good enough. I couldn't say it better. So with that reliable history in the backdrop, please join me at the beginning, long before the Orphan Magician on that park bench, the Buzite War, the Trollian Wars, or even before the Great Rebellion. As a witness to those events, my perspective is unique. I was relatively young, only 200 years old, but we dragons are very observant and astute, even as toddlers. We could only watch as the whole thing unraveled here in Garden City. What do I mean? Well, before that moment, Garden City was an amazing paradise. All the various species thrived and enjoyed each other's company. There were no conflicts, wars, or even arguments for that matter. I know it's hard to imagine, but I was there. It is fully documented in our great library in Drukel. The dwarves needed no dwarven armor, axes, or shields. They got along with us dragons and even shared caves and tunnels deep within the mountains. That is a far cry from our contentious relationship today, as you will see in my tale tonight. Elves spoke kindly to non-elves, not needing to put on airs of superiority and live far away to remain pure, whatever that means. Humans got along too. There were tribes, of course, but no tribalism, no sexism, no racism, no creatureism, no isms at all to speak of. We all lived in harmony. What made Garden City then so different from today? Some say it was the abundance of creature comforts, security, a wide variety of fast food joints where everyone could have it their way, a wide variety of career paths, an excellent education for our little ones, and the absence of all of those weight loss commercials, no doctored up Brussels sprout recipes insinuating they could even be made palatable. Everyone knew what was in hot dogs and didn't care. There were no silly social media influencers and only one way to spell color. Don't get me wrong, those things aren't all bad, well, some of them, but based on my studies, they are not the one thing that matters. In those special days and months, all creatures were experiencing a true sense of Father. To be clear, when I say that we all long for Father, I'm not speaking about a person or a creature. I'm speaking of a place, an embrace, a relationship where you can hear and experience the phrase, "You are my beloved child with whom I am so pleased." In that hug, you feel absolutely lovable to that person, and you can rest knowing whoever and whatever they are, they have your back. If something bad happens to you and you do something wrong, the Father can be your physical father, mother, friend, teacher, coach, spouse, king, or whatever you see in your mirror for that matter. We're wired in our deepest soul to need such a Father experience over and over. This is particularly true since the Great Rebellion. The end. We'll pick this up after a word from our sponsors. So, what do you think? I mean, was Gorgorna the Sakhalin dragon right? I should tell you that for the last decade, I've actually been using this truth, this searching for Father, searching for enoughness, as core to my gospel presentation, whether from the pulpit or books or talks or one-on-one conversations. And I've come to believe that people subconsciously know this. And when you bring it up and talk about it and just shine light on it, something just bubbles up. Eventually that shifts the conversation from proofs and reason and apologetics to some deeper question that everyone is asking in their midbrain. And by the way, social media has just made this worse. Would it surprise you to hear that most non-Christians have rarely heard, if ever, that there is a God who can make them feel lovable, lovely, and loved, worthy and honored and safe? We don't use those words. I don't know why we hesitate telling people who are hurting and emptied cups and who aren't feeling enoughness, why we don't tell them the good stuff or to tell ourselves the good stuff. This is crazy good news to people who have been beat up by relationships, abuse, identity issues, identity enoughness, addictions, all of us. So here's some thoughts for dialogue. Do you agree with what Ragorna said? If not, push back. And what about you? Are you kind of sensing that longing for Father a little bit more now? And what are you doing about it? And how would you put that in your own words? So anyway, here's my invite at the end of this gospel rant. Sure, the tale of the Orphan Magician is for 10 to 15-year-olds. Get it for your kids, get it for your grandkids, for your youth group at church. But here's the thing. C.S. Lewis said that a children's fantasy book that adults don't enjoy is just not a good fantasy book. And I agree. So I'm writing it also for adults. So check it out. It is adult worthy, I assure you, and you will enjoy it. Well, I don't know a greater source of this message of our longing for Father right now than this kid's book. So June 2nd is going to be available on Amazon and Kindle. It'll be available at Barnes & Noble later, along with all the other Kingdom Quest series. Check them out. Get them out to friends and neighbors and other family members. They'll be glad you did. By the way, I'll be at the Iowa Homeschooling Convention in West Des Moines, Iowa, and that's the official book launch on June 6th. If you're around, come and join us. If you want me to chat with your youth department about all of this or your whole church about this searching for Father, get in touch. Bill at gospel-app.com. Yeah, take heart, child of God.
Finding uplifting news in today's headlines is often like searching for a needle in a haystack. At the Story Behind podcast, we believe in the power of finding heartwarming tales and are happy to share empowering stories with you every week. Hear about how Steve Harvey surprised a dying man on Family Feud with $25,000. Get inspired by the note a waitress received from a patron dining alone. And even hear about how one VIP passenger made a hardworking pilot get emotional before his flight. To start listening to the Story Behind podcast, visit lifeaudio.com or search Story Behind on your favorite podcast platform.